Evening, everyone. Welcome to the Clovis City Council meeting of January 16th, 2024. We appreciate you being here tonight. Before I call the meeting to order, I would like to ask that we all stand, if we are able, and have a moment of silence for one of our employees that passed away about 10 days ago. His name was George Rodriguez. George was a remarkable part of the City of Clovis family. He was a social worker in our Clovis PD and helped an infinite number of people. He really epitomizes that expression, plant a tree under which you will never sit. And he planted lots of trees in the youth of Clovis. So thank you for rising, and let's just have a moment of silence in memory of George and lift up his family as they go through this really difficult time. Thank you very much. I would like to call this meeting to order, and I will invite Councilmember Bessinger to lead us in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I guess we could have remained standing, but we needed the exercise. Roll call, please. Mr. Hausler.
Councilmember Baskell. Here. Councilmember Bessinger. Here. Councilmember Muanatua.
Here.
Councilmember Pierce.
Here.
And Mayor Ashbeck.
I am here. First on our agenda tonight are public comments. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the council on items that are within our jurisdiction, but not on tonight's agenda. Anybody in the audience have anything that fits into that category?
Yeah.
Good job.
So, I know a little tech. So, my name is Jenny Kren, and I am a longtime resident of Clovis and infrequent commenter, but I do get up here. I want to commend the City of Clovis and particularly the Police Department for an outstanding Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast this last week. It was very inspirational. It was nice to see the two communities, Fresno and Clovis, coming together for this. The video, which I understand that George Rodriguez inspired, was excellent, as was Dr. Armstrong's talk. And I want to make sure that we acknowledge her and what she did. I'm about to head to D.C. This weekend, and everything's going to be closed up if they don't get this budget thing dealt with. And so I'm going to be stuck in the cold outside looking at monuments, and I will make sure, because of your description, I'm really looking forward to seeing the Martin Luther King Jr. Monument. So anyway, congratulations to everyone who was a part of it.
Thank you. Thanks for being there. Any other public comment? Anyone online? And I will follow that and congratulate Dr. Armstrong. When she came in, I was trying to pick the lyric up, but I couldn't quite get the rhythm again. But you did an excellent job as a speaker at our event. Your personal story was really remarkable, and thank you for sharing that. And you make Clovis proud, and you started by saying you've been here just about a year, or it's a little bit longer than a year, but it seems like a lot longer, and you really are present is what someone described, and I think that's totally right. So thank you for the honor of sharing your story with us and your inspiration, and it was very meaningful, so thanks. Nice to see you here tonight. And would you like to lead us in a rendition of, oh, no, okay. Well, I actually was going to tell John when you walked in, I wanted to have the music queued up, ready to go. But I thought that might have been kind of like, what's happening? So anyway, well done. Well done. All right, ordinances and resolutions. With respect to the approval of resolutions and ordinances, the reading of the title shall be deemed a motion to waive a reading of the complete resolution or ordinance. Unless there is a request by a council member that the resolution or ordinance be read in full, further reading shall be deemed waived by unanimous consent of the council. The consent calendar are items that are considered routine in nature. They're acted upon in one motion unless someone from the council or the audience wishes to pull an item. Does anybody from the council wish to pull any of the consent calendar items tonight? Anyone from the audience? And I'll note that there was some minor adjustments made to item number 2, and there is a revised document on the dais, but they are minor in nature, and if no one wants to hear that, we'll just consider that a consent item. So hearing no comments, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar items number 1 through 10.
I'll make a motion to approve consent items 1 through 10.
Thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on the consent calendar items? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Under public hearings tonight, the first item, number 11, this is to consider items associated with approximately 155 acres of land located on the north side of Shepherd Avenue between North Sunnyside and North Fowler Avenues. Great Big Land LP owner applicant, Harbor and Associates representative. This item was continued from the December 11th, 2023 meeting, council meeting, and is to be continued again tonight to a date uncertain. There are items A through I that are part of this action. I will not read those all to the record at the moment since the action is to continue it. But Renee, would you like to comment on the item and the continuance?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I just wanted to let the council know that we are continuing to work with our consultant in responding to the comment letters that we did receive. That's the primary reason why this item is being continued. It is a very complex issue, and we're trying to be very thorough. We also had some holidays that delayed some of those responses. So in an effort not to confuse the public or the neighborhood, we've requested that council continue this item to a date uncertain. Once we know when we'll be back in front of council, we will then renotice the community, the public, and let them know when that date is. Because at this point, we just keep sending out messages and letting them know what our recommendation is, and we don't want to continue to confuse them. Our hope is that we will be back in February. I have every intent, and I believe we will be back here as soon as we possibly can. So with that, I just wanted to be able to answer any questions, but we have been notifying the public, and again, this is to continue the item to a date uncertain.
Thanks, Renee. Are there questions for Renee? I do have one question. I know last time when it was continued, staff had sent out notices back to the residents that it was continued again. Were they notified tonight that the item would be continued, or was it requesting to be continued?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for doing that. All right. Is there anyone in the audience that came to speak to any of these items? We will not, are we opening the public comment?
You can open the public comment. We'd really want to focus it to the continuance, though, and not open the public hearing, which will be held at a later date.
So if you'd like to comment on the continuance, we'd hear those comments now, but to the attorney's point, if you have substantive comments about the project itself, it would be best to wait until we have all the information in front of us when it returns. So is anyone in the audience wishing to comment on this continuance? Anyone online?
No.
All right. There's no one in the chambers or online to speak to the continuance. Is there, I'll bring it back to the council for your pleasure.
Motion can continue this item to a date uncertain, hopefully in February. Second.
Motion is second to continue this item to a date uncertain. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 12, there are three items under administrative items. The first is considering approval to enter into a cooperative agreement, an agreement for the exchange of real property, the Clovis Regional Library Project with the County of Fresno, and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement on behalf of the city. Staff tonight is Thad Avery, the city engineer.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Hello.
First off, I'd like to let you know that there's a missing Exhibit A that was put on the dais for council to include with agreement in your packet. The Exhibit A is a sub-exhibit to an Exhibit F, which is an access agreement included in access easement included in the agreement. Yeah, the agreement is, with Fresno County is a final draft form attached to the report with the main purpose of facilitating new property for Fresno County to construct a new library to replace the existing Fresno County Library in Clovis. County staff has a few minor edits to the Exhibit F of the agreement that are not reflected in the final draft and do not affect the purpose of the agreement. Highlights of the agreement are the exchange of properties between Fresno County and the City of Clovis, for Fresno County to agree to construct a new library on the site provided by the City of Clovis, and for the City of Clovis to provide a parking lot next to the new site the library can use for access and parking. As part of the property exchange, Fresno County will provide to the City of Clovis the existing county library property and building located on the Civic Center campus, consisting of approximately an 8,500 square foot building on about a 3/4 acre site. And the City of Clovis will provide to Fresno County the 1.15 acre parcel located on the northwest corner of the Landmark Square site. Both sites that I indicated were in red on the exhibits. The city's obligations as outlined in the agreement are the following. Provide building pad, sewer service, and water service to the new library. These three items have already been completed with the Landmark Square project. Install a vapor barrier under the foundation of the new library. Provide public utility easement to the new library for electrical and gas services. Complete the construction of the parking area east of the new library. Provide access easement for the new library to use the parking area at the Landmark Square site. And to pay all the city development impact fees required for construction of the new library. Also, we will provide maintenance to the common area included in the parking lot. The county's obligations are to construct an approximately 26,000 square foot new library on the site provided within 3 years of the execution of the agreement. County staff is here tonight, can provide more information, but our understanding is the county is currently working on an RFQ that will be released in the next couple of months to get a contractor on board for design build of the library. As part of the construction, the county will install the electric and gas services to the library building. And going forward, they will maintain the sewer and water services to the library building. That concludes my presentation. I'm here for questions.
This is a great item, Thad. Thank you for bringing it to us. Are there questions for Thad?
I had one, Thad. What happens if it's not completed within the 3 years? What happens to both parties, or do we just keep continuing it until they finish?
So there are guidelines in the agreement that allow the city to opt out of the agreement and take possession of the property themselves. Okay.
And that's our remedy?
Yeah, it's clearly defined in the agreement what the next steps are. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thad, I had a question about what's the condition of the existing library building? So we get the building. Is it in occupiable, that isn't a word, but occupiable condition, or will it need refurbishing or obviously remodeling inside?
I don't have all the details on that. I know it's occupiable.
See, you said the word too. It isn't even a word. We just made it up twice in 2 sentences.
I'm following your lead on it.
It must be a word then now. Okay. So, but it's usable?
It's usable, yes.
In better shape than the courthouse?
Yes. Yes, okay. Yeah, yes.
All right, that's good to know. I had another question, but I forgot it was. Okay, thanks. Any other questions for Thad? All right, let's open the public portion and let's invite members of the public who want to speak on this long-awaited action to swap property for property. Judith, please join us up here.
Good evening. Am I on?
You are, but can you bring it a little closer because you're sort of short. You
stand
could
on
grow
my
taller.
toes.
It'll come down. Pull it down. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Judith Bruce. I've lived in Clovis 84 years. I have served on the Measure B Review Committee, Library Tax Committee for 14 years, and I've served on the Friends of the Clovis Library for 18 years. I attended the first meeting with the architect to look at the plans 18 years ago. This has taken way too long, but I appreciate your decision this evening, and hopefully things will get moving. I do want to make a comment about our current library. It's the #1 library in the county as far as the service it offers and the availability. And I can't say enough about the librarians. They are fabulous. They work hard, but they offer some wonderful programs, particularly the reading programs for the little children, but for the teens. They have an excellent program for the teens here, and it's well attended. And I'm just, because I've worked with them for so long, just very proud of them, and you should be too. So thank you again.
Judith, you are the consummate volunteer, so thank you for all those years of service. We're there. We're closer than you were 14 years ago. Thank you for staying with it. Any other comments? Please.
Good evening, council members. Bernard Jimenez, Fresno County Public Works and Planning. Just want to show up today to recommend approval. It has been a long effort to get to this point, and we certainly appreciate all the coordinated efforts between staff. And as Dad indicated, we're getting ready to release an RFP to try to get a contractor designer on board so we can get this project kick-started, initiated. I'm here this evening with Sally Gomez, our interim librarian, and we're certainly here to answer any questions, but county staff would certainly recommend an approval of the agreement that's before you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for your work. I do have a question for you, my colleagues. Anybody have a question? I meant to ask staff, but I'll just ask you. Is there plans to have the design of the building blend in with our beautiful new senior center and transit center so that we have kind of a campus feel there? Or where, I know over the years it's been yes and then it's no, and where are we on that element?
So we've gone through a few iterations of the design. The city has actually approved a design as part of the site plan review approval. But I can tell you that based on input, and we actually added to the sides of the building, that's changed a little bit. So our intent is to, after we get through this action and through our board, and by the way, we're planning on going to our board on March 5th, we will circle back with city staff to give them an updated version of what that looks like. But to answer your question, our full intent is to try to make something that's complementary, and we'll provide the opportunity for city feedback on that design. But a revised design has been shared with the public, with Clovis Friends of the Library. So we have something that we think is pretty close, but obviously we want to get your city staff's eyes on it and make sure they're okay with that design.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's just really important. That's a kind of a gateway entry to our old town, and it's a beautiful campus now, and your library is a long-awaited addition, so that's awesome. That's good to hear. Thank you, Bernard.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So you say that the librarian's here?
Yes.
And that is?
Right there.
Hi. I wanted to join Judith in praising your library staff here. I spent some time in a library a couple of months ago, had questions. Your staff went out and they didn't know I was a council member. I was just somebody walking in off the street. They were extremely helpful. I was very impressed with the young reading program. You had moms and grandparents and a lot of little kids, and it was extremely well run. You know, you saw people of all ages inside there. The staff was really on top of stuff, and they do an excellent job. And unfortunately, in public service, people are critical sometimes, and they don't pass on compliments, but please accept my compliments.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'll make sure to pass that on to them.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Anyone else in the audience, in the public, commenting on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for what I will describe as joyful action. but action nonetheless.
And before I make a motion, I do want to say that on behalf of all the students who have used that as a place, at least for parents, to feel safe and secure when they are out of Clark and to be there. I know that this new location I don't know if they'll go that far now, but at least it's been there forever for the students, and we appreciate the library always being willing to work with Clovis Unified with us in accepting students that may disrupt the other users of the library during the 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock hour. So, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve or to enter into a cooperative agreement. No, wrong one. Request for the Fresno County and the City of Clovis to permanently supply. No, that's the wrong one either. I was reading the right one. Enter into a cooperative agreement for the exchange of real property with the County of Fresno and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries joyfully. So well done. Thank you for the journey. Yay for that. Yeah, it's been a long road. We are nothing if not patient in Clovis. How long did it take to build the flume, Judith? Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a trivia question for you. Okay, so this has taken 5 times as long as it did to build the flume? Okay, that's awkward. That was not the answer I was expecting. All right, well, we'll get it done. We'll get it done. All right, thanks, everybody. Our next item is number 13. This is to consider a request from the County of Fresno for the City of Clovis to permanently supply a water service connection to County Service Area, CSA 10A. And the staff tonight is Paul Armendariz, and Thad is back. Maybe Thad never left. Thad's still there.
Still here.
Gentlemen?
I'm just here for support. So.
I think that's up to you then, Paul.
I need all the support I can get, right? Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. So staff is in receipt of a letter from the County of Fresno Public Works Director requesting the city to provide a permanent water supply to a county service area. A little bit of background of this area. So CSA 10A is in the county, incorporated in the county, is not in the city's sphere of influence. It consists of 29 rural residential parcels on 2-acre lots. This is a county-operated and maintained community water system, so this is a little different from other rural residential properties where they own and maintain their own domestic well. There are 2 wells located in the CSA that is operated by the county and is permitted with the state. Because it's the community water system, similar to Clovis, they have to routinely test for different contaminants and follow the state regulations or Division of Drinking Water. In the routine testing a couple years back, one of their wells tested high in nitrates, and so they are under a state compliance order to address. The county has explored several alternatives, one being a new well, treatment for the existing well that is high on nitrates, and they've also looked into a connection to the City of Clovis water system. The city has a current policy in place that we only provide water service to parcels in city limits. This exhibit probably looks familiar. This is the 2014 general plan. The clouded red area in the center of the map is CSA 10A, and this shows the growth areas in the city. If you zoom in from here, you'll see that the yellow outline, that is CSA 10A. The red line on the left-hand side, that's our current city limits. The blue line is our SOI, or sphere of influence, and CSA 10A is located roughly a mile east of our city limits. So staff's recommendation tonight is that council deny the county's request for a water service. This is to be consistent with our current city policy. Again, this county CSA area is located outside of the city's SOI. There have been a couple instances where the city has provided a service connection to parcels outside of the city limits, but never have we provided service outside of our SOI. This could be precedent setting. So there's a mile stretch of rural residential parcels in between this proposed connection and the CSA. There's also another CSA a half mile or mile north of here, consisting of over 100 parcels. And so there's some concern that if we were to allow a connection here, what's next?
This location, the CSA is located outside of the FID. That's important to note because that means there's no surface water allocation that comes with this land. So even if we were to provide them service, there's no supply to transfer to the city with that. There had been mention, we've communicated or met with the county a couple times just on this, on what this could look like, and there was some discussion about the county had requested, well, what if we use the firm water supply in the city's water supply fee? One thing to note with that firm water supply has been reserved for future growth. So any water supply that we would take out of that, we'd have to, either staff would have to go and find that, or that would take from future growth. The alternative solutions have not been fully exhausted. So there are some alternative solutions for the county on the table, whether it be drilling a new well, treatment. This isn't a last resort. The city connection isn't a last resort. So actions following next steps. Should council deny the request, there really is no further action for staff. The county still is under that compliance order, so they would likely submit a plan, whether it's a well or treatment, to the state for grant funding or whatever it may be. If council chooses to approve this request, there's really more work to be done. We would want to model this connection to make sure there aren't no detrimental effects to the city's water system. We don't believe there would be, but there's always that potential, so we'd want to engage our master plan consultant to model that. We would want to review our connection fees, development impact fees, capacity fees, to make sure there are appropriate fees in place. The user rates, we don't have a current user rate for something like this. So we have residential rates and commercial rates, but we don't have a 8-inch residential connection fee, or excuse me, a user rate, a monthly, ongoing rate and tiered rates for that. So that's something we would want to review. LAFCO would need to be involved before an extraterritorial agreement. This would be a service outside of our city limits, or SOI. And then other or unknown, again, this we don't have a connection like this currently. We don't know in the future what this could look like as far as the regs. There are a lot of things changing with the state as far as water conservation. These parcels they use quite a bit of water, more water than our urban use, and so it may or may not be an issue in the long term, but it could be. And with that, Thad and I are available for questions.
Thanks, Paul. Drew and then Matt.
We connected, we permitted Tarpey Village to connect, and this was back in the 80s. Was that because they were in the SOI?
That's correct. So Tarpey is a little different. It is in the SOI, or it's currently in the SOI. Also, that was a full consolidation, meaning there wasn't just one point of connection. We actually took on, they had several wells on site. And then there was also, in the 80s, going back and looking at some of the minutes, there were some, I think, plans in that area to revitalize that area, and I don't know what triggered the initial request for connection, but there was some discussion that should the city of Clovis not connect, the county was going to petition LAFCO to get that into the city of Fresno's SOI, and so it kind of pushed the ball on the Clovis to put some pressure on to take on that community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Paul.
Paul,
Matt?
can I see the map again, please?
Yes. This one or the general plan?
No, this one here. I'm sorry, the 10A, CSA 10A. That's Herndon, Leonard. Okay.
Yeah, I probably should have said. Yeah, so this is Herndon and
Right.
Leonard. Clovis Community Hospital is right above that city of Clovis, and then this is east of there.
So I guess I have a question for Scott. I have a relative that lives in there, so do I need to recuse myself from this, or?
It's a good question. Just a relative, I mean, as long as you're expressing that you're not going to have.
It's a nephew by marriage.
Yeah, as long as you're expressing on the record, if you want to express on the record, then you can make this decision unbiased without any, bias.
Okay.
In
I
that.
just didn't know.
You don't have a
I wanted to make sure I
financial
wasn't
interest.
violating a rule here, so.
Correct. You do not have a financial interest, correct?
No.
With him? You don't
No.
support him, or he doesn't support you financially? Yeah.
No.
So it's
None
just
of that.
it's just a potential bias issue, so as long as you can make the decision without
Okay.
that family member being the only reason you're making the decision, you're fine.
Okay. So yes, I can be non-biased on that. But I do have a separate question on that. Does that area take on any city services at all?
Not currently.
They don't pay into Your water bill or anything like that isn't part of the city?
No, this is completely in the county, so there's no sewer connection, waste services, refuse is served by the county. Yeah, there's no city, rates paid.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Paul, can you show me where Clovis Community Hospital is?
Right above the city of Clovis.
Oh, all right, okay, I see.
Right up there.
Got it, okay, all right. Thanks, sorry, go ahead, Will.
Yeah.
If we did this, where is the connection and who pays to bring the water line out to them?
So the county's done, they're working with a consultant, they've done some preliminary exhibits. The proposed connection would be probably right where the blue line is with the master meter and would continue down east to the CSA. The cost of all the infrastructure would be borne on that development, and whether it be through, that'd be probably a question for the county to answer, but they'd go after grant funding, or it'd go to those users, passed on to the users through their rates, or if the county had a project or funding to support that, they would pay for that.
Okay. And have the residents reached out to us at all, or is it only through this letter from the county? Have the residents expressed anything to us?
The residents have not reached out to the city of Clovis staff, to my knowledge.
Okay. And then, if we should do this, and then I guess the county's here, are they willing to change the tax sharing agreement so that way we get, just for this specific case, so that way we get more of the tax dollars because we're taking on some responsibility? I'm going to oppose that. So that way, for this unique situation, we can assess what the costs are going to be for us, and then change the tax sharing agreement specific to this CSA 10A. And so that way we can absorb whatever it is that. And so I want to know if they're willing to negotiate that part of it, and if not, then we also know. And the sphere on this area with planning, it's going to be difficult because of all those small parcels in between, correct? Moving eastward. I mean, it's easier, I think we're moving north, but there's so many parcels. Is that the way I see it, the way it looks bad, or even if it's Renee?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Moving east there, you'd have to take on a lot of county, 2-acre properties.
Okay.
And there's no benefit for the city of Clovis on taking in rural residential.
Yeah.
We would be taking all the additional cost of providing the services and no benefit from revenues.
Okay. And then they would remain county. They would not be kind of like a Clovis Island that is part of us.
The request right now is just a point of connection, so they would remain county or Fresno residents with a water service connection.
Okay, thank you.
And Paul, do you have a ballpark estimate on what this would cost the individual property owner? And my recollection is going to be that because there's only 29 units there and the cost associated with it, the monthly cost would be really significant.
Yeah, we'd have to, rough estimates right now, I think we're about 77,000 per lot, based on our current connection fees, the water supply fee and all that, put into that. And then the county of Fresno had engineering consultant go through the different alternatives, and I think the monthly rates were in the $800 to $900 range, estimated for a connection. And I think that right now they're paying on average a couple hundred, just depending on water use.
I did have one question on the statement you put here with regards to the State Water Resource Control Board, and it's on page 171, the bottom of the top paragraph. It says, the SWRCB practice is to recommend consolidation of water systems. However, it is not currently being mandated of the city. Is that sort of what we said about TARPI, or what is the statement? What does it mean?
And that's different. So right now, the State Water Board, Division of Drinking Water, the entity that oversees community water systems and all the regulations, their practice or recommendation is for larger water systems like a Clovis or like a Fresno to take on smaller community community systems, for whatever reasons, it just so, you know, the larger systems can absorb that. And so they recommend that routinely. It started really with disadvantaged communities, and they really, with disadvantaged communities, they'll even maybe mandate that consolidation, it's called. With something like this, it's not mandated, it's just a recommendation of the state. This is a smaller community water system. They have a water quality issue. Will the city of Clovis look at a connection point? Not a mandate, but just look into it.
So if they mandated, we would have had to have allowed them to connect? Is that what, when it's mandated?
If the state were to mandate it, we'd probably be back in front of you with that conversation to see if that's something. I don't know how they would force that, but we're not to that point yet.
Okay, thank you.
Well, this area doesn't fit the description of a disadvantaged community.
No.
Right? So I think that's that consolidation. I think about Tulare County and all those small communities that have no drinking water that are right next to. So that's what I think that mandate's for. It's not for this. Because my sense is there's adequate quantity. It's just got a quality issue in this neighborhood. But they by no stretch are a disadvantaged community. Yeah? Correct. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Any other questions for staff? All right, we'll open the public portion. Anyone from the county want to speak to this? You should send the librarian up because things are good with the librarian. Just kidding.
Good evening. My name is Chris Bump. I am the Special Districts Manager for the County of Fresno. Overseeing all the special districts, including CSA 10A.
Chris, what's your last name?
Bump,
Thank
like
you.
bump in the road. I would first off like to just thank you for hearing the item and thank your staff for working with us to get the item to this point. It's kind of been mentioned already, but County Service Area 10A is under a compliance order for exceeding the nitrate maximum contaminant level in one of their 2 wells. In order to address the violation and as part of our ongoing effort to seek funding opportunities, including through the state, county staff has met with the State Water Resource Control Board and investigated a number of possible solutions, including this one. So the item before you today is specifically part of the process to determine the viability of connecting to the city of Clovis. We definitely understand the concerns that have been voiced by your staff, and if we do receive a denial of the request, we will continue to work on exploring alternative correction actions that would be more along the lines of drilling a well or whatever else comes up as a feasible alternative. So with that, I just want to thank you, and I'm available to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Chris, are the neighbors out there engaged in the option-seeking process? I mean, are they aware that should this option be what the county proceeds with, that the cost would be quite high to them? Or where's the community input or engagement in this process of options?
We have had community meetings in the past since the violation has occurred. However, a large part of going back to the community is going to be when we have a little bit more significant understanding what the options are, to really talk about the viable options and how we move forward, because it will involve a state funding application, and the reason for that is, as you guys mentioned, that the cost per parcel is significant, and ideally grant funding would be something that lowers that down to a much more reasonable effort for whatever project ends up happening.
So the water out there, they have more than one well. So, I mean, is there still drinkable water out there in this neighborhood, or are they doing the trucking in that we see in other parts of the region, or?
So they do have 2 wells. The lower producing well is the one that has the clean water. The state, we do send out notices of the state's direction monthly, stating the nitrate levels. It does fluctuate to where some months it's over, some months it's under. And in a time period, especially high usage months, where the one well that is not having nitrate issues is not sufficient, the other well would be used at that point.
That has the nitrate levels that are of concern?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks for being here tonight. Anyone else in the audience wishing to comment on this item? Anyone online? No. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for discussion or action, recommendation, or both.
Have a motion.
Okay.
Motion to deny the request of the County of Fresno for the City of Clovis to permanently supply water service connection to CSA 10A.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Is there any discussion on the motion before we vote? I would just say I conceptually think that, I think what you were talking about, I conceptually understand larger districts trying to support smaller. Intellectually, that makes sense to me, but this is not that case. So if we were next to a disadvantaged community, that would be a different conversation, I think. So I understand the State Water Board's thinking, but I don't think it applies, and this would be a precedent we would never recover from. I mean, all the parcels along, even just the stretch of Herndon, would be an insurmountable problem to overcome. So I just wanted to chime that in. So there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify of the denial of the request signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. The last item tonight in public session is an administrative item of receive and file a report on the National Community Survey results. And Chad is the staff on that. Mr. McCollum, hello.
Hello there, Mayor, members of council. I'm here to present to you, as noted, the findings of the 2023 National Community Survey, and we'd like to call it the 2023 Clovis Community Survey because it is our residents who are surveyed, about 200 questions, and we're going to go through just a portion of it today. It's a tip of the iceberg, and then we'll explain how everyone who's interested can take a deeper dive into this and read the whole report. So just a little bit about the survey. We've conducted this survey every 2 years since 2013. So that's 10 years running, which is pretty exciting to have that historical knowledge. The goal of the survey is to gauge the temperature of our residents on important topics ranging from public safety to the economy and everything in between. We compare it to ourselves for years past. We also compare it to other cities. So this is not a Survey Monkey or an online poll. This is a scientifically done survey. We use a nationally known company called Polco, which developed and distributes the National Community Survey. The survey was conducted, our version here, was conducted over a 6-week period in September and October of last year. How it works is 3,000 randomly selected households received the survey. Surveys were provided in English, Spanish, and Hmong. We promoted the survey on our social media, our website, local media, and got the word out to let potential participants know that this was a legitimate process being supported by the city, but it is done by a third party. The result of our efforts was feedback from a great sample of Clovis residents. 394 residents did respond. That's a response rate of 13%, which is excellent for a survey of this kind. So what are we looking at? The survey focuses on livability. What makes a community a place that people want to live in? Some of those topics, as I mentioned, safety, economy, parks and rec, utilities, and many others. There are 600 cities across the country that participate in this national survey, and we're compared to all of them in some degree. We also have special benchmark cities, which are very like Clovis in economy, demographics, size. So they are called the special benchmark, and I'll go over a portion of that on how we compare with them. This is the first way that we compare. Clovis versus those benchmark cities that you saw on the previous slide. Here's the areas that we ranked number 1, and that's a long list. It's a small font. I had to use that small font to fit all those on there. It's just a great way to kick off the sense that Clovis is doing really well in the eyes of our community. Just a side note, Mayor Ashbeck had mentioned George Rodriguez, and he was a great man who did great work in the city. I counted 16 ways that he touched some portion of these, including the animal services, the code enforcement with his graffiti abatement, and it's just, I'm sure we could do this exercise with every city staff member, but just want to acknowledge his legacy here he was a good man, and his legacy does live on.
That's nice, Chad. That's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah. So this survey, again, has been done every year since 2013. 2021 was an anomaly in a lot of ways. COVID across the country impacted all of us, and it impacted the ways that people responded to surveys. I think as we go through some of the responses today, you're going to see that 2021 dips quite a bit, and then in 2023, there's a rebound. So I don't want to discount 2021, but we do need to acknowledge that there's a lot going on in the country at the time, a lot of angst, a lot of people had time at home, and it did impact how they reacted to some of those questions. But I do want to acknowledge that as you look at 2023 on each of these questions here about how we've bounced back from COVID, it's significant. And when you see just that top one, for example, economic health, when you see 83%, just to dive into it a little bit, that is 83% of the respondents are saying that they feel that the economic health of Clovis is excellent or good. That's what you're seeing when you see 83%. So in 2021, they said it was 74% said excellent or good, so that's a substantial 9% jump. Overall feeling of safety increased 4%, with 84% of respondents from Clovis saying that they felt that their overall feeling of safety was excellent or good. And then overall opportunities for education, culture, and the arts, we didn't have a whole lot of that in 2021. You see that drop from 2019 down to 2021, and then the rebound of 10%, of 71% of the respondents saying that it's now excellent and good. We'll continue to watch these and see where they go in years to come. But just as you see the graphs moving forward, the survey company acknowledges that there was a significant drop nationwide in just how people responded and their positive feelings. No surprise.
Chad, can I just ask you a question just in terms of reading the slide?
Yes. Sorry, I'm going forward. There you go.
Just the words higher, similar, what are those?
I'm glad you asked that, Mayor. So when you see higher, that is, we are higher than the other cities that took the same survey.
I see, okay.
And when you see, and it would be higher to the degree of 10%.
Okay.
Similar would be right around the same. Lower would be a drop of 10%.
Okay, all right.
So higher, we ranked higher in the national survey. So no, I'm glad you asked. One more question that I wanted to address here of post-COVID, the likelihood of recommending someone in Clovis to someone who asked. Look at those numbers in 17, 19, and then the drop, and then the bounce back. Clovis is still a great place to live where people want to recommend living here to their neighbors and friends. Again, the anomaly is there and evident, but we're back up nearly 9% since that time. First topic that we're really going to dive into is public safety. Public safety is one of the areas of livability that is surveyed, and I wanted to share a few findings. When asked how residents view crime in Clovis, 87% said crime was either a major, moderate, or minor problem. Only 13% said it was not a problem at all. Quality of police services, 83% said it was excellent or good. And the quality of fire services, 91% said excellent or good. Both of those are similar to the national rankings that we see in the survey. Importance of investing in public safety for the city of Clovis, you'll see a very large number. 98% said it was important for the city of Clovis to invest in public safety, with 80% saying it was essential we do so. It's not a surprise, only 2% saying it's not at all important that we invest in public safety. It's no surprise that we are one of the safest cities in the Valley, and this confirms that our residents feel that this is a very important investment of public funds. Moving to the economy, the importance of investing in economic development. You'll see that a large number there, 99%, said that there was some percentage or some importance, whether it be essential, very important, or somewhat important. The next two I included because they show an upward trajectory that is subtle but consistent. the ratings of employment opportunities in Clovis, and then the quality of our businesses. Both of them rated higher than the national benchmark. 62%, again, doesn't mean that it's only a small amount of people. It actually is higher than the national survey. And then 82% of the quality of our businesses. This is a theme that if you go and you read into the survey, how our Old Town ranks, how our shopping districts rank, either higher or much higher. So these are positive stories about how people view the economy and our businesses. It's not all good news, though. Remember that these surveys are not done in a vacuum. There's statewide issues, nation and global unrest. This is just a sense of how people have felt about how the economy has impacted their family's income and might impact their family's income over the next 6 months. The last 4 surveys, it's dropped dramatically, and even the last 2 years, only 18% of people think the economy will bring them, it will be good or better for their family. In other words, 82% are saying that the economy will have a negative impact. Disappointing to see, important to see, and it's one of those numbers that we'll continue to watch, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be going in the other direction anytime soon with inflation and other things that are going on in the world. Another item that jumped out as interesting is housing. We're going to spend a little bit of time on housing and in particular affordable housing. So this graph shows the respondents that are answering that the availability of affordable housing, affordable quality housing in Clovis is either good or excellent. You see, in 2013, it was 60%, and it has dropped dramatically down to 30% of people thinking that there is an availability of affordable quality housing. Of course, that goes in line with some numbers that I pulled about the average price of a single-family home in Clovis, which has skyrocketed during that same time period. If you cross those 2 graphs, you see a pretty good picture, and this is not brain surgery here, but affordability declines as home prices rise, and Clovis is not exempt. Some other interesting findings about housing and affordable housing in particular. The importance of investing in affordable housing. Very large number of people said, a majority said it was essential that Clovis invest in affordable housing, and they said that 42% said that the availability of affordable housing was a problem, major problem. Now, we don't know what affordable means to the person filling out the survey. Is it affordable in the sense that it is low-income affordable or affordable to the average Joe, or what's affordable to one person is not affordable to the other? We don't know those answers, but we do know that there's a theme here that housing and affordability seems to be a concern. Not many people said that there was too many middle-income housing options. In fact, 56% said there were not enough middle-income housing options in the city of Clovis. The low-income housing options, 59% said there were not enough, and housing options for the unhoused, 62% said there were not enough options. Finally, on the topic of housing, 67% said there were not enough housing options for young residents. It's a concern I have with kids that are getting a little bit older. Where are they going to live? And housing options for older adults, I'm also making my way there. 52% said not enough housing options, and then senior assisted living options, 53% said not enough. These are statistics and data that we need to continue to look into and crunch. Of course, one of my roles is with the housing division, so this is of interest, of course, and we'll continue to use it as items come up, and there's a lot more data that is in the survey on housing. The last topic that we're going to touch on is just how welcoming Clovis is. I wanted to end on a high note here. In 2021, Polko began asking some new questions, and some of them have to do with how welcoming we are to new residents. You'll see in 2021, when they started asking, it was a pretty low number. Is it because of COVID? Is it because we've done a better job since then welcoming people? we won't know until we start, continue to ask this question. But in 2021, between 2021 and 2023, you see a pretty substantial increase there of 11% of people higher saying that we're doing a good job making people feel welcome. So that's 76% saying we're doing an excellent or good job. Attracting people from diverse backgrounds, higher by 14% to the 64%, and then valuing, respecting residents from diverse backgrounds, a very big jump as well. These are all similar to other cities, and I think we do a good job trying to be welcoming to all of our new residents. Obviously, that's something that we want to continue to do. Just wanted to end with that long list again and I encourage you to take a look at it. These are all ways that all of our many staff members are working so hard to serve our community. So what's the next steps? We're going to be sharing all of these findings on our city website. They're up there right now. We'll be utilizing the survey findings when considering budget and program recommendations to council, and we'll be conducting this survey every 2 years. If anyone in the audience or anyone watching online wants to take a QR code snap, this will take you directly to a city website, and we'll be putting this on our social media in the days to come. This is what the website looks like. Talks a little bit about the survey, how it was conducted, highlights, and then we have links to some PDFs of all the surveys going back to 2013 that you can, now it's 100 pages plus each, so if you want to do a little light reading, there it is for you. That's my report. I know there's a lot more to go into if we had time, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Chad. Excellent report. Lovely PowerPoint slides, too. Very nice. Well done. Questions for Chad on the survey?
Yeah, Chad, you know, there's the national comparison, and then the selected cities in which it states that we selected the cities. Is that correct?
So the cities are selected by size. No, it's not by size.
Staff. It said it's selected by city staff.
Yeah,
is that accurate? So did we choose those cities?
We did not choose those cities. We chose to have a benchmark that we would be compared to. So there's extra costs that go along with comparing ourselves to other cities, but I didn't go through and select those cities specifically.
Okay, so this statement isn't accurate on page 47 of the report, but 227 of the packet.
I'm going to have to go into it.
Yeah, so it's 47. So it states custom benchmark table. So it states this table contains the comparisons of Clovis's results to communities as chosen by city staff. And so they said that. So it made it, if you read it, it seems like, well, we picked those cities to compare to. So is that accurate, or is, like, what you're saying is no?
My mic was off. It is, we chose what demographics and population size, and then they selected those cities that participate in the survey with them. So yes and no. I didn't go through and pick on a map who we wanted to be compared to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And when it's the national versus benchmark, I look at it and I say the benchmark cities are more accurate.
Agreed.
More to what we should be, because when it's national, I mean, we don't even know all those cities and their demographics and their populations. So is that a pretty accurate statement that I just said as well? Because we did very well on the custom benchmark. Like you said, many ones and twos.
In fact, most of them are 1, 2, 3. There's very few low ones. The only very low is our air quality. And that's the only very low, which we have nothing to do, unfortunately, very little to do with.
No, the very low ones were with us. When we were 17 out of 17, 16 out of 17, it's contact with Clovis or elected officials to express your opinion, 17 out of 17. Page 80 or 227. So those we scored very low, even though one of them said similar. You know, watch a local public meeting, very low, right? Attend a local public meeting, very low. So if this, I know that that's us, as in we need to engage, but if there's something in which the staff can help us I know that we're doing WebEx now, and that's helping, but I think this is also something in which we can take ownership together to go, how do we use the council to engage the public more? And so
You can look at it a couple ways. We don't know why people are reaching out to their council members. They could be reaching out because there's problems and they're complaining about things. They could be coming to public meetings because there's issues, and we don't have the same sort of challenges, and maybe that's why people aren't reaching out. We just don't know, unfortunately, and it's hard to speculate. Public engagement is always important. We try very hard to make that a priority on our social media and our website. We'll continue to do so, but I wouldn't read into, someone not reaching out to a council member being a negative. It just is showing that someone says, I did not reach out to a council member in the last 2 years.
I would be interested to know whoever ranked first, who got a 1, what that city is and what they were doing to why those cities were getting 1s there. Because, like you said, it could have been a positive because the city's going so great, no one's coming to the meetings, no one's engaged, and yet we look at the other city and they go, oh, they have so much trouble. They were like 17 on all the other items. That's why they're number 1 here.
So the way the survey works is we don't know who those other number 1s are, just like they don't know who we are.
Okay.
Because they want to keep it, I think, somewhat scientific, and that's how they keep the separation. I'm curious about a lot of those items as well.
Okay. And then with regards to inclusivity, we rank really high in the custom comparison. We're 1 and 2 on all of them,
right,
as well. And so I just wanted to just piggyback on what you said. It showed the increase, but to compare with similar cities, we are doing phenomenal in whatever we're trying to do. And I know that PD has been reaching out, to the community, and we've seen a lot of efforts there. And so I just wanted to just go back on that and say, yeah, we're doing a good job.
These little decisions that are made at the staff level here in the council meetings every week, they do have an impact, whether it be our police department running the Martin Luther King Jr. event each year. It doesn't take 1 year. They've been doing this for years, and it's a lot of work, and it pays off. The time and effort that we spend as staff at community meetings, at Hmong New Year, these are small things, but over time, they do make a difference.
And with regards to the report, is this the first year it was presented this way?
I presented it in 2019.
Did it have all these rankings as well? It didn't.
And Andy presented it before that.
Okay.
It was not presented in 2021 because there were significant concerns by the company that there were anomalies they were seeing. Mm-hmm. So they wanted to see what it looked like as they got out of COVID.
Okay. Excellent report. Thank you
very much
for the work.
Chad, I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead. I didn't. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I just had a couple questions for you.
Sure.
One of the things that Mayor Ashbeck has said over time is the communication standpoint, and us being able to get out there, and we're consistently going back to the first one. It's 55%, and it stays that way all the time. So I think, like Long has just mentioned, if we could find a way to, up that communication with residents, whatever it may be. I know we're trying all the different things, and and sometimes maybe we're just not reaching certain people, but that would be one thing I'd like to see us, get out there soon.
Sure.
And then you made a comment that caught my ear. You said one of the safest cities in the valley.
So go ahead, correct me.
So did something happen?
No.
Okay.
No.
So we are
It's a big valley, so
okay.
yeah,
All right.
it's the safest city.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I stand corrected.
Touchy subject for you, huh, Chief? So just a couple questions, really well done. I would love to see a little bit more, I think I look at this every time we've done this. I feel like I'd like to know how our governance scores have trended. That's on page 12 of the document. So it talks about overall confidence in government, acting in the best interest of the community. Those are saying similar, so similar meaning it's the same, okay. But I'd love to know how we've trended over the last few years. I always think all of those things are so positive, but the confidence, 60% in my mind isn't good enough. So how do we give them more confidence in not you, not its staff, but it's the governance question? So I don't know if it's possible to do a little look back on the trending on that.
There is. I will say trust in government is down across the board. And we rank very high compared to the federal government, but it's still much lower. It's a national trend. It's one of the notes that the survey company pointed out.
Yeah. Vong showed me there where it was. You're so smart. It's on page 84. So we've stayed pretty safe. I know the national numbers are, 8 people in the country.
Trust in the federal government is very low. Yes.
Okay. All right. So anyway, that always interests me. And then I do think I also flag the participation levels. Again, don't know why 13% attend to public meetings. So those are, but maybe that's not how people feel like they need to engage. So I just, those always catch my eye. But I do think you, Chad, and your team have done a really good job of expanding the options. And the numbers of people that use the internet and email and social media are super high. So that is actually engagement in my mind. So I think they're probably not, I might not have answered that exactly that way, but I think that's certainly an engagement feature. So anyway, but I do think, I guess my question for you and John and all the leaders, how will this inform our strategic plan that I know is in its home stretch, I hope, and your plans? Because it's not enough to know this. It's just so as you all think about that, it'd be, for me, important to see kind of you circle back to go, well, they said this, or residents said this, and we're going to try to do this to respond to that. So I would be interested, and it's maybe just a rhetorical question right now, but how will this inform the budget and the plans and the strategic plan going forward? Because this is the heart of, this is people telling us what it's like to live here that are not us. So I just would end with that question, and as you think about that, as you do your own.
I'll let John answer the more specific questions, but these details will all be provided to the department directors. They'll be given the historical data to go along with it. It's not good enough just to see a snapshot in time. It's where we come from, and then how do we compare, and what does it really mean? And then you can drive yourself crazy trying to read into it. Why does someone go to a meeting or not go to a meeting, or call a city council member or not? So just taking the data, not trying to be, read into it. And then, as noted in the presentation, as we are encountering items that have to do with these topics, and these topics are very broad, and there's 10 very important topics. If our community thinks it's important, we should pay attention to it.
What is your plan to communicate the results to the neighbors? Because one of the things we've learned in the hospital world is there's nothing more frustrating than surveying your employees and then going, sorry, we forgot to tell you what we did with what you just told us. So we try to kind of close that loop, and I would imagine it's the same for cities.
This will go on social media this week.
Will you try to summarize top 5? Thank you.
We will. We'll try. And it is summarized. The highlights are pointed out on that website.
Yeah.
Again, 200 questions and 100 pages. It's so difficult, and you can crisscross and dive into it a lot of different ways. But this will give them the information on kind of the highlights and then where they can go.
Excellent. I think it's really important. And then, we can over time tell them what we did with it. So I think that's what people are, they don't want to be just an empty, kind of going to a dark hole. So anyway, excellent job.
Yep.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, Drew.
I think in regarding to engagement, I think I've had a lot of people talk to me about the WebEx and being able to look at this from home. They have much higher expectations of what we need to be doing. And I think that might help, because I think people don't want to look at a thumbnail and they click out because they don't, I don't know, we're not here to entertain, but you certainly.
Oh, but it can be really entertaining.
If you can't see the people who are speaking, you're not going to be all that engaged, at least in my opinion. So that might be something, the next survey, hopefully we can get an improvement because we do a better job.
That's a good note.
That's an excellent point. Thanks. Yeah, Matt.
Just one other comment. I just wanted to say that I appreciated what you put in there about affordable housing as well. I mean, we all know that is a topic for us to you know, going forward, and to put that out there, and it shows the numbers and how important it is to the citizens as well, is, something I want to make sure we acknowledge too. So, you know, and, you know, I've mentioned before, you know, how expensive things do seem to be getting when you're, you know, young couples or looking for homes, and I use my own family as an example. So, anyways, but thanks for putting that in there, and I'm sure we all are in agreement that that's something we're working on going forward. So, thank you.
And I don't want to leave the other departments out. This report, I mean, talks about how well our cities are planned, how great are the trails, the parks, sewer, water. And so, notice all the departments was touched, and we ranked high. The only thing we didn't rank high was when they were looking at government up here, and depending on how they interpreted that question, yeah. So, but everything with regards to our city and the departments, we did really well, and I want to, you know, commend and just encourage our staff to continue to keep doing well, because the results proved it and showed it. One thing with regards to the people, Chad, that I am interested in is there a way for the polling to get long-term resident feedback versus new resident feedback? Because it doesn't, I don't think it shows that, but if we could, I'd be interested to know as well, because those perspectives would be very enlightening.
I agree with you. You can slice and dice this survey in a lot of different ways, and that's one of them. There's a question that's asked, how long have you lived in Clovis? More than 20 years? Less than? I mean, it goes all the way back to just moved here. And we can then cross-reference that with the questions. We can cross-reference income to affordable housing responses. There's a lot of different ways to crisscross it, and it's really difficult to present it in a very short presentation like this. But I'm glad you brought that up. Where people live in the city.
If someone lives in a geography?
It's geography. If someone lives in a apartment versus owns a home, because that's going to be a very different mindset as well. Income level, race,
Chad, what
gender.
would be the right way to get some of that deeper dive back to us? I mean, a longer agenda item, a workshop on the data results. What would be a different presentation? I mean, because I do think some of those things are instructive about, I just moved here and I've lived here for 84 years. Well, what's the difference in people's response to that?
I think us watching for opportunities to see either an issue that has popped up or something that we just want to dive into, or if you have specific questions, I think that we can just dig into it.
Well, I think a few, like where you live and how long you live and what kind of housing you live in. I mean, even just those three would give, I think it's an interesting to see what kind of correlation, and maybe there isn't one and maybe there is, but it would be really helpful to know that.
Great.
For sure. Do we ask people if they vote?
Yes.
That's interesting as well.
Yeah.
You know, see, this isn't voting. This doesn't count as voting, but how engaged are you in democracy?
Yep.
Would be an interesting question as well.
There's questions about the library and what they think about the library, and have you shopped online in the last this many times, and how often do you check your email? It's wild. Yeah.
So maybe a few just samplings of things to bring back, and just let us take a look. Or offline, we can meet with you. Maybe you don't need to do it here, but it'd be interesting to maybe if a few of us want to meet with you just privately, or
Absolutely.
Not in this forum. But I think there's super interesting questions about that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Good job. Is there any public comment on any of that? I have my glasses on, but I'm thinking that's Nathan Meggs, but that was Bernard Jimenez like 10 seconds ago. What happened? What happened to you? You're not Bernard anymore. Jenny.
Hi. So one question I would have is, you got about 13% response rate, and I am curious about what bias there is in the respondents, because to do 200 questions, 100 pages of questions or whatever it was, is going to take a pretty dedicated person to respond. And what was done to kind of control for this being a particular slice of the community?
So they anticipate that older residents over 55 will respond at a higher rate than an 18-year-old. So they weight the 18-year-old. And they do the same thing with folks who live in apartments or rent, because historically they don't respond to these types of surveys in the same number, so they'll weight them. There's 200 questions broken down into topics, and those topics, they do flow. I would encourage you to take a look at it. The folks that did respond, I mean, again, the numbers of the people that responded, going back and seeing how it was done 2 years ago and now 4, we have the data and you can check it out. It's pretty amazing. People did take the time, and the system is pretty interesting. So when you get there's a postcard that comes to your house, and it says, "Be watching for this survey." And if it gets sent back to us in the city, then we know that house, either the person doesn't live there anymore or there's a problem with the address, and that gets counted as one of the non-responses. Then when the survey shows up, the person who last had a birthday is asked to fill it out. So it's not the head of the household or the youngest person, the oldest person. And this is very random, and again, you can go and look at how the weighting takes place, and it's weighted for income level, gender, race, to try to get that representative sample. They do the best they can, but of course, any statistics and surveying, there's challenges, but they've honed it in.
Okay, thank you, Jenny.
Yep.
Other comments? Mr. Magsic, Supervisor Magsic, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Mayor and council members. So the data I found fascinating, and it went back to 2017, but I would love to, I think the city of Clovis has been gathering this data for over 20 years. So if you were to go back and, take a look at what residents' opinions were when the population of Clovis was 69,000 at around the year 2000 to today, where you're approaching 130,000, I think that would be instructive. Something else, too, I know you mentioned that the approval rating of Congress is very low, but when you talk about local government, the approval rating is a bit higher. Maybe in the future, one of the things that could be done, too, because sometimes people get confused about who their representatives are, and I know that there are some cities that receive a lot more attention than sometimes the city of Clovis does, but maybe as you engage with the individuals who are on that phone call, just to see, are they aware of who their representatives are, and maybe ask them specific probing questions about, what kind of engagement have you had with, individual council members, and maybe they'll have examples, maybe they won't, but sometimes you get lumped into local government, whether it be the county or other cities, good and bad things that have happened, and sometimes that can skew the data a little bit. But again, I really appreciated the presentation. I'm glad that the city of Clovis still goes out to survey residents of the city of Clovis just to hear their opinions. And I know at one point, I think the top 3 issues, major issues why people chose Clovis: schools, public safety, and Lynn Ashbeck, I think, were the top 3 reasons why people chose Clovis.
Yes, I'm confident that was the third, and not in that order necessarily.
So, thank you.
We are the safest city in the valley. We know, right?
I'll just say the council's never been a reason why anybody lived in Clovis forever, so that's...
And those are the people 20 years ago that they asked that question.
Right, because the 18-year-olds would go, what? It wasn't important then. All right, Supervisor, you're very kind. All right, anyone else, any other public comment? All right, we will close that item. This is a receive and file, so consider it received and filed, and we will continue acting on it as we develop our plans going forward. So thanks again, Chad. City manager comments, Mr. Holt.
Real quickly, some of you may have received a complaint about traffic and speeding along Sierra Avenue. I communicated that with the police chief. We're going to increase enforcement in the area and see what we can do.
Thank you. We need to circle back to that resident who submitted that concern. So we'll figure out how to do that since the 3 of us got it. Oh, do you have his contact information?
I do not. I need it.
Do you have it? Okay. I have it too, but if you... anything else, John? All right, council comments. Diane?
Just kind of echoing what others have already said about the community breakfast that we had on Saturday, for Martin Luther King Jr. events for the weekend. Again, it was an excellent event, very well done, and again, kudos to, Dr. Armstrong. Again, echoing what's already been said, but I thought the personal touch and the personal history that you were able to share just really sets it apart in a different way of being able to understand the importance of what people fought for, to not just with the civil rights movement, but with getting a day to pay tribute to what Dr. King did. And so I just thank you so much for taking the time to share from your personal and your family's history. It was really meaningful, and I enjoyed it very, very much. And the gospel workshop group that sang also I thought was really fantastic. So thank you to everyone who was involved. It was another great community breakfast for that event.
Thank you, Diane. Mr. Bessinger.
I also would like to thank Dr. Armstrong for her moving presentation. I have to say that while I have heard snippets of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, that was the first time I'd heard the entire speech.
Cool.
And that was, I wish I hadn't waited so long to hear it. It was an excellent presentation. And thank you for honoring a great American. This morning I was at the Breaking the Barriers at Clovis and Shaw with a bunch of, that was Breaking the Barriers, is it? Breaking the Chains, okay. Yeah. With a bunch of other volunteers, getting donations for the organization. It was very, very well attended function, and the citizens were very generous. And that is it. Thank you.
And it was cold out there.
It was cool.
It was cold out there, but worth it. Vaughn?
Sure. You know, the community sometimes forget with regards to the breakfast, even when Chief Councilmember Basco, but we've been doing it for a long time and been hosting that. And so I want to commend, you know, your leadership when you were chief and working with the Unity Committee, and then now Chief Fleming is continuing it, and Erin and all her hard work on that committee. And it was just nice that Dr. Kapoor, he's retiring from it, but he also, just a very heartfelt mention of George during his comments. It was just so appropriate for his hard work and getting us on the map with that. And then I also wanted to say I went to the MLK March on that Monday, so brought my youngest son, and we had a good time. It was also chilly, but it was a good time. I wanted to say to our Chief of Police, to Aaron, and to our command staff for just making a great presence there. And I like it that you're always together. And so when they look, there's Clovis. Then you look and there's the command staff. And so it's not all scattered, and for capturing that. And then even today, went to the Breaking the Chains. You know, we hosted it this year, and compared to when Fresno hosted it, we gave them burgers and hot dogs, right? We had a nice corner that was very, very visible. And so when we do it, like Mayor and like Councilmember Bessinger, all three of us were there, you know, we just do it better. And it was very visible, and a lot of news stations came out more than last year. I think only one station came out, and here, you know, a lot of stations came out. And so I wanted to just give kudos to Chief Fleming again, Chief Paco, and Sheriff Zanoni for their, you know, hard work on such a tough evil, as Councilmember Bessinger said, in our community with human trafficking. So I got to go to that. That's all I have.
Thank you. And yes, and echoing all of those comments that we've heard. What I thought this morning at the what?
We
already went. Didn't you go?
I didn't think so.
Matt, who? I'm sorry.
I forgot again.
Oh, how did that happen?
Well, it usually started this. So.
I know, okay. What's your name again? Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. So, I too wanted to say thank you to Dr. Armstrong for, your presentation and, your version of, happy birthday. It, stuck in my head all day. I had no idea that that's what the lyrics were to the song, and so I too received an education, at the event. And I will say, having, been to many of these events, it was one of the better ones. It really was. I mean, the overall, just everything. And I think it's only fitting that it was, because it, George Rodriguez, it was his last one that he helped plan, that he was participating in. And, George was a great man, was a great friend, and, somebody we're severely going to miss. And, to have an illness that takes you at a young age like that is just, it's sad. And, but his legacy will live on, over at the Clovis Police Department for all the things that he has done. And, he has touched a lot of lives. And, he and I have, through the years, have had many conversations, working together, trying to figure out, how do we bring diversity to the police department, and how do we reach our public. And, the things that he did were truly amazing. So, I really appreciated him. Yesterday, I went to the Poverello house and worked with Kaiser. They invited me to come out, and as you said, I had a day on instead of a day off. And that was a good event. And then just lastly, I forgot to mention it last week, but I was appointed with the League of Cities to the Public Safety Committee, so I am now participating with that. Thank you.
You sure you want to go again, because I skipped you? You're good? Okay. Sorry about that. So I just want to say this, the event this morning on the human trafficking, it did strike me that those two words next to each other don't belong in a sentence. Like human trafficking, we say it sort of as if it's a noun, but there's something so dark about that. It's sort of daunting when you hear about it. So it was a really wonderful event, and it is present in Clovis. So to the chief and everybody that's focused on it, it was really an important event. I just wanted to make one comment on our upcoming Clovis Unified meeting that we'll be doing with the school board on February 13th. One topic that may be useful to have on the agenda is this issue of safe routes to schools. And it was brought to my attention, there's a piece of property, and I know engineering and planning are aware, but it's on Ashland, just go with west of Leonard. The apartments are on the corner, and I think it's the Frank family property, and then the remaining. And it's such it's a miracle that no one has gotten hit there. So that's an opportunity for the city to work with the developer or whoever's required, but that's right across from Reagan. So I think our city could come together. I know that COG is going to work on the safe routes to school question. The county's probably doing work. Fresno Unified is doing work. The city of Fresno is doing work. So part of COG's interest is to unite all the work, but our city and school district could work on that. But that particular parcel is in need of some attention, and I don't know. I think staff has worked on it over the years, but maybe we're at some kind of impasse. But that's a glaring unsafe route to school. So if we can maybe circle back on where we are with that family or the right-of-way or what's required, but it's a huge safety hazard, as we know. So anyway, but it might be a topic that we could share, because it'd be nice if the meeting wasn't just about building and maps, because there are things we share that are more than building and maps. So I would offer that as a potential opportunity. And with that, I think that is all I have tonight. So we are going to adjourn into closed session. We are going to address the item that is printed on the agenda, and we will reconvene into open session and report out if there is something to report out. And do you expect that?
We are not asking for official action tonight to report out, but we will reconvene and report out if there is.
So with that, the meeting is adjourned, and our next regular meeting will be on Monday, February 5th. Is that right?